Okay, we're going to be making a one-piece hilt. This is the drawing we're going after. All of the dimensions are listed out. I usually list the dimensions from either end so I can use my calipers to register against the flat face and mark out the different places features should go. We're going to be making that out of extruded aluminum. This is 1.5 inches by 1 inch. To hold this in the chuck, or in our machine in general, we have a live center, and we also have this expanding mandrel. Really simple piece of kit. It's got a bolt with a tapered end that registers in this tapered hole, and a flat spot on the end. Bolt goes in there, followed by a washer and another bolt, or a nut, and that actually tightens on the back and allows it to expand. I'm going to insert this into the end of my piece, hopefully. Looks like there's still a burr. That's okay. That sits pretty well in there. This part goes in the chuck and allows me full access to the work. There's a flat on the screw that allows me to tighten it. And I can just take this and make sure that's locked on. And to ensure that that's not coming out, I've got another nut. This one has a nylon washer in it, so this is a lock nut. And that's just to make sure the vibrations of the lathe don't accidentally unseat, or I guess back out the bolt, or the nut that's already on the bolt. Alright, that's pretty good. That's not going anywhere. I'm going to tighten both again. And now, we can insert this into the 3-jaw. The reason I'm using an expanding mandrel, instead of just clamping this in the 3-jaw, is 1, so we have full access to the work, and 2, because the inner bore, or the inner wall, the inner diameter, and the outer diameter aren't always concentric with these pieces of stock. So making sure that this registered on the inner diameter and this registers on the inner diameter, it makes it a bit less prone to wobbling. So now that that's roughly in the chuck, I didn't tighten fully. That's because I want to make sure my live center is in. So I'm going to tighten down my tailstock, extend my tailstock into the work. I'm going to give it a few twists just to make sure it's fully tightened. I'm going to lock my tailstock down and then go back and I'll tighten up these jaws. All right, chuck guard in place. I've got a left hand right angle, I guess, little carbide bit there. These I already have centered onto my quick change tool post. Now this comes in 1.5 inches in diameter. The largest diameter I have on my stock is 1.4 inches, so I'm just going to take the entire thing to 1.4 inches as a start. I just realized I can't actually get to the end of this stock to do my facing cuts because my carriage runs into my tailstock. So, gotta back this up. Back up my cross slide, or compound, I guess. And make sure that I have enough room to actually get to the very end of the stock and go all the way down. So, I'll lock that back in place. Readjust my live center. Tighten that back down, and I should be good to go now. Alright, so I'm doing these facing cuts. One thing you can probably see on camera is how terrible the surface finish is. As I'm going along, it seems like there's some vibrations due to the gearbox, I believe. If I switch this out to to not have the power feed. Looks like things are fine. In fact, if I try to clean up some of these surfaces. Okay, maybe not. Looks like the vibrations are just due to improper work holding. So I really got to get these properly clamped up. Really got to make sure things are tight. I've been taking passes towards the truck. I'm going to see if passes, or power feed passes away from the truck, lend me a better surface finish. Alright, it looks like I got a slightly better surface finish, I think. I think my cutter is dull. I think I just need to rotate this bit around, and hopefully that'll lend me to something better. In the meantime, though, I should take this diameter, see how much I still need to take off. Alright, I switched around the bit. It should be sharp. I switched around I messed with the change gears a little bit, just to make sure everything was seated properly. They were. As you can see, there's a real big vibration spot right here, and the surface finish in general is fairly spotty. That might be because of the tool itself. Having that flat might not be super great. It might be better to have more area engaging with the work, as opposed to a sharp point. So we're going to change that out to a more gradual cutter. This one uses the same insert, but it has a different angle. This is a 15 and 45, as opposed to a, I guess, 0 degree and, nope, wrong one, 0 degree and 60 degree angle. Try that again. Honestly, the vibrations are, they're even there when I feed it by hand, so it doesn't seem like it's a problem with the gears. It looks like just some specific parts on this piece of stock tend to be a little jumpy, a little grippy, a little more vibration prone. It's quite annoying, but we do what we can. This is almost 2 size. The only part that needs to be 1.4 inches is this ring. It's a very small section, so I'm not super worried about it. The rest is 1.3. So I'll start getting things to size. Okay, after taking 2 4th depths of cut, still getting a lot of vibration issues. I'm hoping that'll go away eventually. In the meantime, I'm gonna mark out the front of this. You know, we'll do the pommel on this side, and we'll do the emitter on this side. So I'll mark out the front of this. It's a little bit easier to position the tailstock to cut a taper on the front of here versus the taper on the front of here, trying to maneuver that handle. That is, unless I just turn the entire compound. You know what? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna turn the entire compound like 180 degrees. That way I can turn a 10-degree taper on this end. Start out that taper. Just mark things out with a green Sharpie. Mark that out. Calipers, 0.85 inches. Go. Alright, you can't see that line at all, that's fine. There's a line there, it'll be the start of my taper, and I'll just turn that down. Well, I also need to turn this entire compound around. I'll get that done, get the taper done. Okay, taper turned out actually really well. Nice and smooth, much better surface finish than the others. Still not the smoothest thing in the world, that's fine. That's to be expected. I made sure to design it such that there was enough material thickness at the very tip to be properly supported. So this still should be quote-unquote rock solid as a bunch of vibrations can indicate. Alright, from there, I'm actually building this backwards like that. So we did the taper. I'm going to work on getting the rest of the diameter down to 0.3 or 1.3. So past this taper, there's a little flat ring, and then the rest is 1.3. All right, more power feed passes, more vibration issues. Let's see. Okay, I am about 25 thou off of final dimension. Couple quick things I wanted to mention. I got a much better surface finish by taking not only a shallower depth of cut, obviously if you take a smaller depth of cut you get a better surface finish, but also by spritzing on this cutting fluid. This is a watered down, I believe 6-to-1 from actual cutting fluid, and that just keeps the tool cool while it's cutting, and it's allowed me to get rid of some of the vibration artifacts that I've been getting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this. Oh, a note. I shouldn't have turned this cone. That was a that was a big misstep in order of operations. For one thing, I no longer have a flat space here, or a flat edge here, to reference all my other dimensions from. Another point is that I switched the compound around to do it. Switched the compound around back. That was a big waste of time when I could have just done all my operations with the compound at a right angle, and then at the very last step, turn the cone at the 10 degree angle. That's okay. We're gonna continue with this build. All right. Now that I've gotten main part down to diameter, I'm gonna start working on these top features. So that includes these rings as well as the button area, and then everything else I'm gonna turn from the other side later. One thing about using cutting fluid. The more cutting fluid, the better surface finish, the worse the chips. So it cools the piece down, it cools the work and the tool down, which is good, but that also means that the chips don't break. So you get really long, sharp, stringy chips. I have a whole lot of them on the floor here that just kind of bird nest together. Sometimes get wrapped around the chuck, that's always fun. Anyway, gonna mark it up using Sharpie, continue with the build. Alright, I messed up. I was turning this top notch. This area here, I was turning this little section down. 40 thou depth, or not 40 thou depth of cut, but a 40 thou plunge and then relief. And in trying to back this out, I accidentally activated the power feed. I should have disabled the power feed since I wasn't using it anyway, but enabled the power feed nut and took off a lot more material than I wanted to. Which is fine. I'll just deviate from the design a little bit. We'll make this one big ring, clean it up, make it symmetric, go by hand since we can't work off dimensions anymore, or the dimensions of the drawing, and we'll just continue. What a time. Alright. After a little adventure of dropping and breaking my coolant bottle and cleaning this up, it looks pretty presentable. I'm pretty happy with how this turns out. Given the mistake that is. We're gonna keep going. Next up, I'm gonna see if I can relief this middle area. This is gonna be a bit much, but it should be okay. Hopefully we don't get a bunch of vibration artifacts, and if we do, more coolant, less depth of cut. It's a pretty big area, and it's only a 40 thou in depth, I guess, from the 0.3 or from the 1.3. So it should be good. We'll do 3 passes of 10 and 2 passes of 5, and see if we need to go anywhere from there. Or we'll take 1 pass of 5, see what the surface finish, and maybe I'll split that up into a couple of 2.5 depth of cuts. We'll see. Alright, so I got the middle section. I actually got it down to dimension. And what you usually do for power feed is you get the power feed all the way up until you get to a certain point, then disengage, then hand feed it the tiny bit rest of the way, just so I don't accidentally ram it. And the surface finish on the little part that I hand turned was really good compared to the rest of it. The surface finish on the rest of it using power feed is banding, as I've gotten with all of my previous hilts, or many of my more recent previous hilts, which I still don't know the cause of. But what I did was I was inspired by that little bit of hand feeding that I did at the very bottom, and I was like, man, I'm gonna turn the rest of this with hand feed. And boy, oh boy, there's no banding, but it's incredibly inconsistent. So I'm just gonna run over it with another maybe 1,000 depth of cut just to clean that up, or get it at least consistent. It's better consistent banding than inconsistent whatever this garbage is. Alright, it looks good on video. It looks worse in person. You can't really see the banding with this low quality webcam, but that's fine. It looks fine. Next up, we have, there are eight little lines, 8 little details that go in this middle section. Kind of don't want to do that right now. Instead, I'm going to do the pommel, so I'm just going to mark that out. Get it going. Yeah, shouldn't be bad. Okay, pommel's pretty good. A little hard to see. Clean that up a little bit. So, after this is the parts I've been avoiding, which is doing these middle details. There we go, much better. I'll get a couple photos of the actual hilt when it's fully done. But so the reason I didn't want to do this is because in my drawing, which is my mistake, in my drawing I don't have the proper dimensions. I kind of generalized it. Gave the location of the first notch, gave the location of the second notch, and then just said repeat 8 times. We're going to pull out the calculator and we're just going to continually add 0.28 to 0.28 to 3.91 till we have 8 marks. We'll mark that out. Easy as pie. Alright, we're pretty much done. Got these. Got a lot of chatter in them, that's fine. I went in deep in the grooves up here too, you'll see that later. Let's clean this up. This lathe really does not like plunge cuts. I get a lot of problems with those. I'm running at a pretty slow speed, so I should be able to just do this without any worry. Though, I'm not getting this off very well. Okay. So ideally, there we go. Whoop. That's fine. There's still a lot of burrs on this hilt. It's still probably not super great to, not super comfortable to hold yet. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some sandpaper. Gonna take some sandpaper, go over some of the edges just to make it a little more comfortable to hold. Alright, we're done. Let's take a look at it. So, I'm gonna loosen up my tailstock here. I'll back that off a little bit. You know what? We still got a pretty big burr on the front here. Let me take care of that. So, back that up. Get the machine running at a low speed. Get some sandpaper. Alright, there we go. Nasty burr's gone. Still very sharp. I'm gonna hit that again. There we go. That's better. Still sharp. Not too big of a deal. I can clean that up with a file. Anyway, I'm gonna take this out. I'm gonna leave the tailstock kind of in there because when I loosen this, it'll fall. I don't want to fall or let it fall on the bed. Let's get this out of here. Alright. There you go. There's you go. Falling. Now we can back this out completely. Take out our hilt. Still got some green on it. Good place for a button up here. Good place for a set screw up here somewhere. These grooves could use a little work. I might chuck them up in the lathe. Take a file to them just to make them a little nicer to look at. Maybe in this light you might be able to see the banding. Maybe not. Maybe a little bit. You can kind of see it up here. Uneven surface finish. Kind of used to that, I guess. This is a pretty complete package, though. You can take out the arbor in the back. Let's see, where's my wrench for that? There we go. Loosen that. Loosen that. And this should pop out. It's got a bunch of sharp edges. Try not to cut myself. There we go. Whoop. And I dropped it. That's fine. Expanding arbor worked well. Didn't mar up any of the surface in here. Didn't probably expanded it a tiny bit. You can't even tell. It's probably half a thou, quarter thou. Anyway, there's a little bit of a burr on the inside here from where it was attached to the live center, but otherwise, look at that. One piece hilt. Thanks for watching.